Saudi or Israel may feel the need to retaliate against Iran for the death of 700, maybe more, of its own citizens. And if that happens, we could see Hezbollah coming down from the south. Hezbollah have stayed back for the moment. They have launched some rockets, but into some very unpopulated areas, so they haven't entered properly. But this is on the border right now, and there's every fear that this could escalate into a really regional, dramatic war. But for now, the focus really is on getting in, saving those hostages, and annihilating Hamas as best they can, getting rid of all military emplacements they have. This isn't going to be days, this isn't going to be weeks, this is going to be months ahead, and it has changed Israeli policy towards them.
I thought this would be a good time to revisit the four horsemen of the apocalypse from Revelation 6 and talk about the first two horses. Here's a clip from John MacArthur and his thoughts on the first two horses.
First is a rider on a white horse, verse 2, who has a bow and a crown, and he went out conquering and to conquer. This is a peaceful conquering. He has a bow without an arrow. Worldwide peace. Daniel 9 talks about the same thing. Antichrist secures that global peace. It's a bloodless victory. Yes, the world is headed toward a fragile, superficial, global peace. Doesn't last very long. The Lord breaks the second seal, and the peace is over. A red horse seen in John's vision, and him who sat on it, to him it was granted to take peace from the earth, and that men would slay one another, and a great sword was given to him. So in the future, there's going to be a fragile peace taken very quickly by bloodshed and death.
Let's revisit, first of all, what we talked about in my previous video on what might be the source of the first horseman of the apocalypse that we would have already had to have had happen before we start with the second horseman. I argued in my previous video that the coronavirus could be related to the fourth horseman, which is often associated with disease and death due to being a pale color. However, many of you challenged me in the comments section of that video, saying that it makes more sense that the first horseman could be representing the coronavirus due to the fact that he wears a crown, and the word corona is from the Latin for crown. Now in Revelation 6, this is what John writes. I watched as the Lamb opened the first of the 7 seals. Then I heard one of the 4 living creatures say in a voice like thunder, Come. I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out as a conqueror bent on conquest. Now traditionally, it is thought that this is the Antichrist, because he rides a white horse, he's trying to impersonate Christ, who will, by the way, ride a white horse later in Revelation, and I argued this point in my last video. I also saw the bow that he carried, which by the way has no arrows associated with it, it's just an empty bow basically. I saw that as a sign that the Antichrist would be a conqueror, and he would conquer with a false sense of peace, hence no arrows required. And that sure sounds like our impression of what the Antichrist would be like, fooling a lot of people, including Christians. However, many of you argued in the comment section of that video that the bow represents the stealth way that the coronavirus is spreading and killing people worldwide. Instead of flinging obvious arrows, this conquest is accomplished without weapons, but rather it is a silent killer. Those are pretty good arguments, and you've got me thinking about that. I still think the rider of the first horse is the Antichrist, but let's assume that some of you are correct and the first seal was opened in late 2019, releasing the COVID-19 coronavirus onto the earth. Let's look at verse 3 of chapter 6 of Revelation. When the Lamb opened the second seal, and remember this is a scroll and he's opening seals in the scroll, so the second seal, I heard the second living creature say, Come. Then another horse came out, a fiery red one. Its rider was given power to take peace from the earth and to make people kill each other. To him was given a large sword. So what do you guys think? Leave a comment below, let me know your thoughts, and regardless of how we interpret these horsemen of the apocalypse, through these tense times, may God grant you grace and peace.